In the last video we looked at a return to libc attack because we were no longer able to inject our shellcode onto the stack and expect it to execute due to the data execution prevention or NX being set on the binary. So instead we returned to the libc library and called the system function with the string bin.sh. Now that was a very basic example because if we were doing that against a real target like a remote server, we wouldn't actually know what address libc was at or what the offsets to the different functions would be, so we would need to leak those somehow. That can be done with buffer overflows, but we can also do that with another type of vulnerability called a format string vulnerability. And that's what we're going to have a look at today, how we can use the format string vulnerability to leak addresses and things off the stack. You can also use format string vulnerabilities to do write operations as well. We'll touch on that slightly, but we'll look at that in more detail later when we get to the episode 9 overwrite in the global offset table. Okay, let's jump over to the challenge. You can compile this with the 32-bit setting and no py, no stack protector. I'm not going to compile it here, let's check the file type. And we'll see it's 32-bit LSB executable, dynamically linked, not stripped. We can do our checksec to see what protections are enabled. And see that, like the last episode, we've got all protections disabled apart from the NX, so we're not going to be able to inject shellcode, so that's fine. As we get onto the next episode, we'll actually turn on py as well and see how we can get around that using what we're learning today from this format vulnerability. Another thing to mention, if we check the permissions here, we need to make sure that the flag is owned by root and that we can't print it out. As you see, we've got permission denied, and also that the format vuln is owned by root, which actually I don't have at the moment. Okay, so let's set this up. Let's do, if you haven't done this already, do sudo change owner root, and we'll do that with the format vuln, and then sudo chmod 4655 format vuln. Let's take a look at that. So it's now owned by root, we've got this sticky bit set, and that means it'll be able to read this flag.txt. You just need to do the same thing with the flag.txt, just change owner to root, and then you can do sudo chmod 600, and that's all of our permissions looking good. So as usual, we'll review the source code. I'm going to open this up with Codium. I've also got it open in Ghidra as well, so we'll go and compare it to that. Got the main function here, but let's just take a look at the source code first of all. And we can see we've only got a main function. We've got a char buffer of 64 bytes, we've got a flag buffer 64 bytes as well, chars, and then we've got a pointer set up to the flag. We've got this set up, this is just to make sure that we don't have any issues running as root. We had to do that in some previous challenges to make sure that we got a proper root shell. And it's going to ask us just to input some text and any format string, and it's going to use printf to print it back to us. It opens flag.txt, which remember we can't print out, it's owned by root. If it's missing, it's just going to print out to say we need a flag.txt. Otherwise, it's going to use fgets, which we know isn't a dangerous function because it's checking to make sure that the size of flag is it's only going to read that size. Let me say that again. So the flag size is 64 bytes, and it's saying only read 64 bytes from the file into that flag variable. Then it's just going to printf with an angular bracket. It's going to use fgets to take in our input. So standard input is going into the buffer. Again, there's no vulnerability here because it's making sure that it's only reading 64 bytes into that 64 byte buffer. And then it's just going to print that out to us. So it's just going to go through this loop of constantly printing out whatever we enter. So it might not immediately look like there's a vulnerability based on the buffer overflow challenges that we've been doing here because we have fgets being set. We aren't reading too many bytes into these variables. The problem is this printf, so we're not specifying what type this should be. Anytime you take input from a user and then printf with that input, you need to specify what type of data you're expecting it to be. So if they're supposed to enter a string, make sure that you're using a format string of a specifier, format specifier to represent a string. Let me just search here, format string specifiers C. There's a lot of different formats that this could be, so we might be taking a number off a user, we might be taking a string. You can see there's a various types. This isn't a great list. Let me go back. Okay, here's a good list. So yeah, we could represent it as a character, as a signed integer. We can represent it as a string. And we basically want to make sure that that's whatever data type we're expecting, that's what we use to print it. Because if we don't do that, the attacker can do it for us. So let's go and see what that looks like. So let's run the program format vuln, and it's just going to evaluate any format string we provide with printf. So we could just put in a name or something, we can put in crypto. We could try to overflow the buffer. We know that it's not vulnerable, but let's just say we were just fuzzing it. And because it's not vulnerable, the input just overflows over to the next input, so it doesn't cause any segmentation faults. It's not overflowing the buffer. But what if we tried to enter in one of these specifiers? So we could try and do C as a char. Let's try and do a couple of them. Let's try and do X. And you see we actually have what looks like some hex values here. Let's do a few more. X. You don't need the spaces here. I'm just putting a space just so we can see quite easily where the addresses separate. Although, oh, I put those the opposite way around. Oops. Okay. That was supposed to be the percentage before the X. So essentially what we're doing is we're leaking addresses off the stack. So if we change that, let's do pointer as well. If this was 64-bit and you did hex, you wouldn't get the full address. So you can use pointer to, it's still the same values here because we're using 32-bit. But essentially these are values off the stack. You can see here this looks like it's actually ASCII. So let me go and unhex. And you'll see that is actually galf, which is flag in reverse. We know that the endianness needs to be changed. So we've actually leaked a value off the stack. And these are going to be addresses. So these look like addresses maybe to functions in the program. And you'll also get then libc addresses and things like that. So in the example that we went through in the previous video, we went and used LDD format string to find our libc library. And then we went and grepped out we found the base address, and then we went and grepped out the system offset and things like that. But if we were doing that against a remote server, we would need to leak somehow those addresses because they might change. That includes pi as well. So in the next video, we'll look at enabling pi so that the program, every time it runs, it will have a different base address, and we'll need to leak that to be able to find our way to different functions. I'm going to jump over to a couple of articles I have here. So one is by Vicky Lee, which I've been through in some previous CTF videos. This kind of helped me whenever I was trying to get my head around what these vulnerabilities are about. So as they mentioned in here, we can represent different data types and leak those off the stack. This is going to print 20 items off the stack in hex. Or you can use this format to actually specify the nth element. So we could say, in that case, they did %10 $X, so saying they want to print the 10th element off the stack and represent it as hex. One thing to bear in mind though is that strings are slightly different. So let's actually try and do string segmentation fault. Okay, so although if we have a look at the format specifier here, it says that string is just a string. Actually, whenever we're printing hex, we're printing those values off the stack in hex, so we can then go and convert them to a string. But if we try to use this %s, it's not actually printing the value on the stack as a string. What it's doing is it's treating it as a pointer, so it'll be going to this address and seeing what is the string at that address. Which means, for example, whenever we try to do %s there, it's going to 40, the address 40, 0x40, and it's trying to print whatever's there as a string. And obviously this isn't a valid memory address, which is why we've got that segmentation fault. If we did want to do that, if we wanted to loop through all of the addresses on the stack and go and see what string is at that location, what that address is pointing to, we might need to restart the program after each attempt. So let's say we were doing the $10 $s segmentation fault. So we'd need to then run the program again, do it for 11, run the program again, do it for 12, and just see which ones actually are valid addresses and give us a string. The cool thing about this is, as is mentioned in this article, what we're looking at there, we're leaking values off the stack, but you can essentially use this to leak anything from the program. So if we can print an address, let's say we provide this address, that address is going to be added onto the stack, and then we can essentially use this %s to go and say, that address that we just put on the stack, go and have a look and see what string is at that address. So if we have, for example, a section of the program which has an address populated, let's say the global offset table address. So it's gone to libc and it's found out where the puts function is and it's put the address there. If we want to know that address, essentially we could put the global offset table address here, specify that string format specifier, and it'll go to that address in the global offset table and print whatever's there, so we'll be able to leak that address as well. Hopefully I explained that okay. Here's a little diagram to go with that. We have our buffer, we have these arguments. So for example here they printed out this address of dead beef and it's added that onto the stack. But they've also, because it's the fourth element on the stack, they're then printing the first three elements as hex, and then the fourth element, which is the element they've just injected, as a string. So it's going to go to dead beef in memory and see what that's holding, what the pointer is holding. The other thing to mention is we can also use %n to write values. So this is interesting. In this case we can see that instead of being replaced by a function argument, %n will cause the number of characters written so far to be stored in the corresponding function argument. So here we have 5 ones, and this will store the integer 5 in the variable numchar. We can see that obviously if we wanted to overwrite an address and there was thousands or hundreds of thousands that we wanted it to equal, you'd have to print a lot of characters, which may not be permitted. So there are various tricks around to get around that, like the width control and format specifier. And you can also automate a lot of these in PwnTools. So we're going to have a look at, let me just search PwnTools format string. We're going to have a look at overwriting a global offset table address in a video coming up soon. But no, not this. Where's the PwnTools doc? But PwnTools has some functionality to automate writing with format string vulnerabilities and to find the offsets and stuff like that. So we'll look at that. You can go and take a look through the docs to see how that's done. But there are some quite complex examples. So quite often with more advanced format string vulnerabilities, I find it easier to use PwnTools and then reverse engineer how they actually built up the address. There are also some other tricks, so let me just also go to this article. I'll not go through too much of this. I'm going to put both of the links to these two articles in the description and to the PwnTools functionality. But this gives quite a good example here, I think, for the write operation. Oh, I've skipped past it. Where was it? So here they're leaking the address and they're saying, how do we turn this into a write primitive? And they're talking about the %n specifier. So as we can see here, for example, they've given an example a and then %10 $n. So it's going to write the value 4 because there was 4 characters to the address 41414141 because that's the address represented here. And they've mentioned that they can print 104 characters, so you can do larger values here. But if you have a lot of characters to write, the example that they give here is that you can actually split these up. So we can first write to the higher 2 bytes of a target address and then write to the 2 lower bytes of the target address. So rather than, in this case, writing however many, I think that's like 134 million characters to the standard output, you can break that up so that we'll do the higher 2 bytes will be 2052 and then the lower bytes 40,964. And they give an example of how they put this together. So in this example we have this string here at the beginning. This is the higher 2 bytes, the target address, and the lower 2 bytes. So we have the higher 2 bytes, the lower 2 bytes, and we want to write 2052 bytes to the first. So they're doing 2044 because we already have some bytes here as well. That'll total to 2052 since we've already written 8 bytes. And then after that they want to write, since we've written 40,964 bytes so far, when we get to the second part and we've already written 2052 bytes, we need to write an additional 38,912 bytes, which is where this is coming from. So you can see even me trying to talk through that is a little bit confusing, but I think this article is pretty useful for a basic example. We'll go through this in a bit more detail in the write video where we overwrite the global offset table anyway. Hopefully that's a basic introduction. Let's go and see if we can leak some values off the stack. I created a basic fuzzing script, so let's open this up, fuzz.py. Again with PwnTools, we're just going to set the context of the binary so it knows whether it's 32-bit or 64-bit. And it's going to loop through 100 times, each time it's starting the process again, because we're going to be trying to use that string format specifier. So if the program crashes because we try to access an invalid memory address, we need to basically start it again each time. So each time we're sending off the percentage and then the integer of the current loop, $s to represent it as a string. So again, this is the index at the beginning and then what we want to represent it as afterwards. We receive the output and then we basically just try to print it out as a string. You can see I've added a check here as well, so if we were just looking for the flag specifically, we could use that to print that out. And let's take a look at it. Let's try and run Python fuzz. And you can see we've started to get environment variables down here, so there were some pointers pointing to these environment variables. But if you scroll up through these, we'll see that at the 39th element on the stack is the flag format strings are dangerous. So remember, let's go over to Ghidra because we've not looked at it yet. So we could go and rename some things here. We have our local 1c, so that's our file that's being opened. And the file is being read into that flag variable. And then we also had the buffer that we're reading into, so we can say buffer. And I think that's pretty much the interesting stuff there. So yeah, the flag.txt, it was loaded. Remember that we had that pointer set up because obviously, as we said, the pointer down here we have created. So let me change that flag pointer. And this was set up because the string format specifier isn't printing the value of the stack as a string, it's going to that address, it's going to wherever that's pointing to and printing the value there as a string. So it was important that we set that up as a pointer. If we didn't set that up as a pointer, essentially what we could do is just loop through all the values on the stack and print them as hexadecimal or as pointers, and then we can go and convert those into strings. And I think that's about it for this one. Let's just quickly change this to 64-bit. And we'll sudo change the owner to root again. And we'll chmod sudo chmod 4655 format vuln. And let's just try, first of all, let me just try and run that script again without changing anything. Yeah, still fine. So because the script, again, we have that context set, it doesn't matter if we change the how many bits, it doesn't matter if we go from 32-bit architecture to 64-bit architecture, because it's going to check and it's going to know that. And again, we've got the flag, it was at a different location, the 27th element. But we could now go and let's have a look if we just run this, format vuln. And if we now print the hex, remember I was saying that if we did in hex format, this would be fine for 32-bit, but if we were doing 64-bit, we would actually want to print these as pointers to make sure we get the full 64-bit addresses. For example here, so this might be a libc address, for example, and then what we could do is use GDB to go and see what is this pointing to. If this is pointing to a libc function, we can just subtract the offset to get back to the base, and then we can do our return to libc attack. Or we might find a function in the program, so for example, one of those addresses might be pointing to something down here. We haven't got many functions in this example, but let's just say it was pointing to a function. We could then go and subtract the offset of that function to find the base of the binary in the case that pi was enabled. And that's exactly what we'll be doing in the next video. That's going to wrap it up for this one. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Thanks.